Hello, it is Foundation Friday, September 17th, 2021. Steve Sipress here with another in our multi-part series on the fantastic book, The Magic of Thinking Big, by Dr. David J. Schwartz. Today we're getting into having you see what can be, not just what is. As Dr. Schwartz tells us, big thinkers train themselves to see not just what is, but what can be. And he gives 4 examples to illustrate the point. The first is a real estate agent who sells homes. He sells broken down farms on rural properties. And he says, if I just sold them as they were, I'd get hardly anyone would buy them. And I'd get a very low price, which would result in a low commission. So what he does, he spends a couple of days walking the property and putting together several plans of what that property could be used for. So it could be used to grow this. It could be used to put up this kind of business. It could be used to build this kind of thing on this property. And he says, therefore, people see the vision and they buy more properties from him than other rural real estate agents in his area. And in fact, they buy him for more money than really the property you would think would ever go for. So there's magic in thinking bigger, and the moral is look at things not as they are, but as they can be. Visualization adds value to everything. A big thinker always visualizes what can be done in the future and does not get stuck with the present. Second example is about lifetime value as a customer and training yourself and your team to look at the lifetime value of a customer, a client, a member, a patient, instead of a one-time transaction. He tells a story of a store clerk getting all frustrated that, somebody just wanted to spend a couple of bucks in the store. They weren't worth any time. But the lifetime value of a customer in that store over the year was over $300. So this store owner had a meeting with all the sales clerks, shared that with them, and he said right away, their attitude went up and their customer service went up because they looked at people as worth, over the years, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, even if that day they were just in to spend a couple of bucks. And keep in mind, this book was written over 50 years ago, when a couple of bucks, today, I don't know, and with inflation rampant, soon to be, that probably would translate to 20 bucks today. So as Dr. Schwartz teaches us here, putting a big value on customers is what converts them into big regular patrons, while attaching little value to customers sends them elsewhere. Third example is what he calls the case of the blind milkman who knocked on his neighbor's door and said, that family, hardly buys any milk at all. And Dr. Schwartz was like, did you see that she's pregnant? And like, gee. So a few years later, Dr. Schwartz shared that now they're buying 14 times as much milk as when that first milkman salesman came and left the door and said they're not worth it, because now there's 4 kids and another one on the way. So the moral there is, how blind can we be? Make sure you train yourself to see what can be, not just what is. And the fourth and final example is asking the question, what determines, with a little bit of wind and trying to turn the page with one hand. What determines how much you're worth? So somebody just starting out, or somebody with very humble beginnings, or somebody going through a rough patch that looks at their present surroundings, or when we look at them when we're looking to hire, or when we're looking to take on a mentee or to mentor somebody, if we just look at the way they are, and we think they're a nobody and they'll be a nobody for the rest of my life, that could be a big mistake. So this person who trained himself to, even though he was in really trying circumstances, he trained himself to look ahead to a brighter future and see himself that way. And he said, I've made up my mind to look at myself as the person I'm going to be in a few short years. I don't see myself as a minimum wage worker. I see myself as an executive. I don't see a crummy apartment. I see a fine new suburban home. And when I look at myself that way, I feel bigger and think bigger. And I've got plenty of personal experiences to prove that it's paying off. And as Dr. Schwartz teaches us, isn't that a splendid plan for adding value to oneself? This young man is on the expressway to really fine living. He's mastered this basic success principle. It is not what one has that's important. Rather, it's how much one is planning to get that counts. The price tag the world puts on us is just about identical to the one we put on ourselves. So, here's how you can develop your power to see what can be and not just what is. Dr. Schwartz calls these the practice adding value exercises. Number one, practice adding value to things. Remember that real estate example and ask yourself, what can I do to add value to my business or to my offering, my product, my service? Always look to add value. Look for ideas to make things worth more. Whatever a thing is, it has value in proportion to the ideas for using it. Number two, practice adding value to people. As you move higher and higher in the world of success, more and more of your job becomes people development. So ask, what can I do to add value to my employees, my team members? What can I do to help them to become more effective? Remember, to bring out the best in a person, you must first visualize that person at his or her best. And number three, practice adding value to yourself. Conduct a daily interview with yourself and ask, what can I do to make myself more valuable today? Visualize yourself not as you are, but as you can be, and then specific ways for attaining your potential value will suggest themselves to you. Just try it and see. And that concludes today's multi-part series on the magic of thinking big by Dr. David J. Schwartz. I highly recommend, as always, that you get yourself a copy of this fantastic book. And keep tuning in here on Foundation Fridays, while I will continue to go through this book and share lessons learned and lessons put into use by me and others over the years, and hopefully you as well. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll catch you tomorrow on Social Media Saturday.